What's up, guys?
Hey y'all, we're back.
The moons have aligned, finally, and Phoebe was going to get the motor that I built like 3 years ago. Finally. So along with the motor swap, we're going to do a little bit of front end reconditioning, probably maybe possibly a new bumper, but that's got to come off. So Mama here is going to blast off the whole front of this thing. We're going to get ready to pull this motor.
What are you doing?
Labeling the bolts.
No, with my muffin tins, babe.
Labeling the bolts.
Well, okay, I'm not gonna lie. This is actually like a really genius idea. He's already used that one, but now I know where they are.
And when you're done, you just brake clean that off and start over labeling them.
It's pretty good. All right, so we pulled off some of the plastic accessory pieces, and now we're just gonna drain the radiator and just go from here back. Okay, so I'll try to show you real quick what we've done so far down here. It's a little messy. Rear main's been leaking for a while, but we got the starter out, got the trans bolts out, we got the transmission line brackets off, exhausts disconnected, motor mounts off, and in there, all the bolts that you got to get out of that little viewing hole. All of those are out. So we just got to get the trans bolts out the top and we should be good to go. Well, the time is here to pull this old girl out. So right now we're just taking out the motor mounts so that we can drop the engine down and take the transmission bolts out the back. So while he's down there, I just want to say how excited I am to get this Rover engine put in, because this old girl needs a little more oomph. On top of the fact that our driveway is oil stained, so we can finally pressure wash it and not have this thing leaking all over it. Of course, until we find the next project that's gonna leak oil all over it.
And just like that, it's out. So now we're gonna spend a couple of days cleaning this engine bay. I am gonna go through and get rid of all of the extra wires and connectors and all that mess. All this that doesn't need to be there. There's some more mess over here. We're gonna clean this whole engine bay up, make it look brand new before we drop in the new motor.
Hey guys, and we're back. So we have done a lot of work in here, cleaned up the engine bay. Now we're going to go ahead and grind this down a little bit and shoot it black. We're going to get rid of this bracket right here, these little studs sticking out, those studs right there. Take that out. He's gonna move that bracket over there, reconfigure this over here. We're gonna pull that off, put new gold heat shield on it. Going to take this wiring that goes to the fog lights and everything, eliminate some of this wiring from the harness. We're gonna redo the fog lights at a later time and just keep cleaning away the engine bay.
All right, so we started with the driver's side, and we have pulled all that harness out of here, so there's nothing left in here. I need this for the hood popper opener thingy. I don't even know why, but we're gonna keep it because it's there. I needed the headlights. I needed the front windshield squirter, the motor, which I've already rewired a long time ago. And I have also kept this blue with red stripe, I think it is. Yeah, the blue with red stripe. This is the factory fog lights, which I've had before hooked up. So I'm gonna keep all of these out. And then I had stripped the harness all the way back, and this is the mess that's left. So all the ABS stuff we are getting rid of. Some people are gonna yell at me. Hey, don't really mind because I don't have ABS, because I have lockers and all that other fun stuff. I don't need downhill descent and stuff. We are keeping the wheel speed sensor. We are keeping the fender light, the brakes level switch, this switch, the headlights, and the fog light, and the windshield squirter motor. Everything else is coming out. So I'm going to start pulling these out and doing this. I will be heat shielding all of them. You want to cut them all at like different lengths so that you don't have one big cluster of heat shield when you're done. So I'll cut these randomly all the way up to about here. So when we rewrap this harness, it'll be nice and tight. I also cut out, that goes to the rear window. And Phoebes does not have a rear window wiper or squirter anymore. The front one is now out, completely out of that harness. And when you are done, it should look like this. So all these are shrink tubed on the end. It's all glue type, so they're all waterproof. And now we're going to wrap this all up back into the harness, obviously leaving these guys out where they need to go, and tidying all this harness up. So that is now the next task. This is the fender light, which goes through that hole down there, which I actually might put a grommet in that hole instead. Yeah, I don't know. Sounds good to me. Yep, so now let's wrap all this wiring up.
Chris is master of eliminating all unnecessary wires. Now he's gonna put it all back nicely.
All right, next we're gonna be pulling out this bracket, and it's spot welded on here. I have a slugger cutter. We're missing half the parts out of this, but I'll show you what it does, because I still have mine. Looks like this. It's got a little center punch in it, and like almost like an end mill. Chuck it up in a drill. This is spring loaded, so you center punch your spot weld, and then you can push down on it, and it'll just chew out the spot weld so that you can pull this bracket off without having to drill a bunch of holes, especially really big holes, to get all these spot welds out of here. So let's do that now.
So we removed everything that we're going to remove, wiring, tabs, brackets, all that stuff. And now we've cleaned up the engine bay, and we rewrapped all the wiring that we're going to keep. So now we're just gonna go ahead and spray the frame with some rust reformer spray and get ready to reinstall everything.
Well, Mama's getting the engine bay all painted up. We got the exhaust fan running because don't want the fumes in here too bad. But new motor, we're gonna put a trans cooler and an oil cooler in it. We need to mount them on the radiator. So these are the two big old coolers I got. And what I think we're gonna do is we're gonna end up running them about, I have 2 3/8 inches between this and the condenser. These are only 2 inches, so I have plenty of room to mount these in between the condenser and this radiator. We will be foaming them off so that they're very efficient. I will build some side ducting and some lower ducting in the future. But first we gotta get these two mounted. This one will end up being the trans cooler because the trans lines run up the driver's side of the bottom of the engine, so then they'll just go over. And the oil filter housing is on the passenger side, so this will just loop up and have 2 lines in it. So I think what we're gonna do is start with some flat strap. We're gonna mount these to some flat strap, and then we're gonna come up to these 2 bolts right here with 2 little legs, and that should do the bottom, and we'll do the same with the top. We'll just build 2 little over there, and they'll be mounted together. So let's cut some flat strap and get this thing mounted. All right, we got our flat strap. We got her centered up and marked out. So now all we're gonna do is drill these guys and mount these 2 to that, and then we'll continue with the top. I'll probably put a little square guy in the middle here and bolt that together. And this side will just come out and then have a tab up to that other bolt hole. Same with this side. Pretty easy. I will weld a flat strap on here to that bottom hole because I want this very rigid. I don't want it to swing. I don't want it to do any of that. So this will be very, very rigid, this bottom one. So let's get some holes drilled. Voila. Holes drilled. Let's get this thing mounted. All right, with these mounted up, you'll see it's very rigid already with just the bottom on there, which is exactly what I wanted because these things are gonna have oil in them still, plus the weight of them, and they're tied together, and they're in an off-road rig. I didn't want like any slop in here. So these things are very rigid. So once this is tied to the radiator, I don't have to worry about it banging around or bouncing around. So that's exactly what I wanted. Now with the oil coolers on the bench, on the radiator, I built these 2 little tabs. I'll pick up that bolt right there. So I am gonna weld this on there, weld this one on there, and I am at like 2 1/4 to this, so we'll have enough room to line this with a little bit of foam and then squish it in between. We'll put some foam on the back side when I put it down. Now I have to build some tabs for this to pick up that bolt. Just little whoop, 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 little guys. Build those next, but first we're just gonna tack these guys on. This is what we got so far. I welded 2 pieces together so that we can mark that on there. I'm gonna cut out exactly the same because that fits basically the same over here. So now all we gotta do is find that hole, drill a slightly larger one so there's some wiggle room. And then we'll cut these 2 apart, beautify them up, get them all tacked on there, tacked together, and then our cooler will be mounted. All right, so if you were there, you'll be right about there. I had a marker. Found it. If I had to guess with my chrometers, you're gonna be right about there. Yep. All right, let's drill some holes. Okay, just one hole. All right, now with everybody bolted down, this is what we got. That's where we're gonna weld them up. Both sides, so they look pretty good. I did have to space this off, otherwise this bracket runs into the radiator and I couldn't weld it. So this is basically gonna get welded right to the edge of the flange. So I will make both of them the same. This one's sagging a little bit, but you lift it up like that and then there's a little gap. And that's what we're gonna do. So we're gonna go ahead and get these 2 tacked on and probably final weld them, I guess. So we'll just get them tacked on for now. Well, Mama's been hard at work cleaning this engine bay. I think we got it all done. I did go through the wiring as you saw. So all the wiring is now nice, the way I like it. Got a couple more things we want to do. We did take all the heat paneling out of here because we cleaned it. I'm gonna do something a little different to it. Also, I wanted to relocate this guy This is the evap filter. It goes all the way back, so I kind of was in here going through that, and let me show you what I found. So we pulled this panel out, and the only thing I really want on here is this. This is your rollover sensor guy. When you roll over, the little ball pops up and shuts the truck off, and you can't start it. But I want to take this bracket out of over here, and I'm going to put it all the way over here. So first I got to clean off all of this, because I don't want anything out here. There's no reason for any of this stuff to be out here. And then the next thing I'm going to do is move this filter for the evap. All right, so this guy used to do this number, and the filter used to sit over here, so I was cutting things out, got rid of that, and I was just going to mount the filter right on the end of that, kind of just put it on the wall over here. Well, I saw this was burnt. I was like, oh crap, well, we'll do this hose. And then I found the whole bottom of the tube is melted wide open. Because I used to have, well, I have headers in here. And apparently at one time this got a little whoop close to the header. So now we're gonna go ahead and chop this thing all the way back here. We're gonna try to get it to come like along this wiring harness and then up through here, and then put that filter right next to the flip over switch that's going to be right here. So yeah, watch for that, because that's completely melted. All right, so now that I got it actually cut out, it's not melted, it's just completely collapsed. So that's fun. Yeah, so we cut it off, cut it back. And I have like some silicone 3/4 hose, and we're just gonna throw that on there and mount this guy right up here. It's got a mounting hole. Just put an like an M6 rib nut in there and just mount that right there. All right, well, I kind of lied. I'm gonna put it on that stud right there that used to have something else on it, but now it has that filter. We're gonna move on to the heat shielding, because I want to finish this engine bay up so that we can put this motor back in it, which I'll tell you about the motor in a little bit, but I want to do something different with these. So these are cool and all, but I want gold. Haha. This is sticky back heat shielding. These are already pretty thick, but I don't want silver anymore, so I'm going to try to wrap these in gold, put these in gold. This is the one that goes by the brake booster, and then this here is just gold tape so that I can tape off probably the edges and stuff once this is all stuck down. So what we're gonna do is cut some patterns out, trace this guy out. We're gonna try to get that on that. All right, now this is just heat reflective, right? It reflects heat, and then this is our little guy. So what we'll do is we'll just cut this out and see if she sticks. And like I said, if this works, you'll know. If it doesn't, you'll never see this part. So hopefully it works. All right, so we got it all painted up and all back together, but before I lock this down, there's a little bit of a gap, and I want these things to be very efficient. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna fill that gap with some foam tape. So we'll just tape some squares around each of the coolers, and then we'll bolt them down so that any air that passes through them has to go through them. Any air being pulled from the radiator fan has to go through it. That way it doesn't just go around it. Makes it more efficient. So make sure you're doing the back side here. Nice and clean. And we'll just take some foam tape and just line this thing out. Now, you just mount it up. Make sure you take the cardboard protector off. So I don't need that anymore. And this will get mounted just like that. And oh, perfect. Actually looks like there's a little bit of a squeeze on there, so that is awesome. Now you can see that foam nice and pressed up against there all the way around. It's really nice. They're screwed up. Let's go put this in the front and see what it looks like. Sweet. It's absolutely perfect. Let's put some brackets on it. No condenser yet, but you have to have those condenser mounts in there because they have those little rubber guys on them. Look at that. Lots of room for activities in there. So there's plenty of room for those coolers. There's plenty of room for line to come out of this side of the oil filter housing, and then this side will be, this will come out and go to the trans lines that'll be on this side of the vehicle. I think they worked out great because I'm gonna have a winch in here, so they're above the winch, and I have two big fans on the condenser now, so I will make those run probably with the radiator fan just so we can push as much air through there as we can. All in all, I think that's pretty cool. Now I think we got to put the motor in. I think we'll have to put the motor in order to do the trans lines because they kind of go to the oil pan. Phoebe's new heart. Land Rover 4.6. I've been building this motor probably 4 or 5 years ago I started. So I yanked this motor out of an 02, maybe a 3, 02, 03, same. Had the motor hot tanked, cleaned up, and then what I did is, this was a good motor. No, we're gonna have to get in here. Let me see if I can get you in here. This block has been pinned. So you see these right here? Cylinder sleeves have been pinned in the bottom. Land Rover is notorious for dropping cylinders because the cylinders actually separate from the block because it's aluminum block, regular steel sleeve, and the sleeves slip. Cause blown head gaskets. That's a lot of the reason why the Land Rover motors fail. Solve that issue here. You can also go out and have your motor like top hats, put some top hat sleeves in it, but they're $800 just for the sleeves. And then I think there's only like 2 companies that are reliable to do the engine work to sleeve them. I'm not about that because I'm not rich. Next thing we did is all ARP hardware. The head studs, everything in this motor is ARP inside. This does have a very large cam, one of the largest Crowler cams that you can put in a 4.6. To go with that very large cam, I do have much larger injectors. It will run on the stock ECU, allegedly. I mean, we're about to find out. Valve covers have been modified inside for the breather system, and they have been adapted to dash 10 tops, so I will have a full breather off both valve covers. The intake manifold has been, I don't know, not lightened, but I cut off all the miscellaneous baloney tabs and brackets and stuff, and casting marks when I did this intake manifold. It is matched, port matched to the lower. The throttle body just has been, I wouldn't say modified, but the cruise control brackets are all gone. Cut the cruise control arm off of this just to clean it all up because I'm not going to run. I don't run any of that. What else? Oil pump has been modified internally by myself. It should have slightly more oil pressure. It's been ported and all that good jazz. We are still waiting for my oil filter relocator. I was going to put an adapter on here and an oil filter, but then it comes really close to that axle when she really starts flexing out. So I'm just going to get rid of it and just relocate it. The valley of the inside of this engine has been modified. Not really modified, but all the casting marks again have been opened up. So the oil flows really nice back into the bottom of the pan. Oil pickup has been matched to the bottom of the block. Anyway, I did a lot of work to this. All new everything. New cam bearings, rod bearings, everything. ARP rod bolts. Everything in this thing is ARP. I've been waiting for 4 years to put this thing in. Now I just hope it starts. And also, you Land Rover guys will notice right off the bat, those are not Land Rover coils. Those are LS coils. And I had redone the harness, repinned the harness to make those work. Land Rover has what's called a waist spark. So it fires 2 plugs at the same time on the waist side of the stroke. So one of them will be in compression and the other cylinder that's in exhaust will fire it again. So it's called a waist spark system. So there's only 4 triggers, 8 coils. So 2 of them will always fire twice. I had to do all that research and stuff, and I'm hoping that I got it right. We'll find out when we fire this thing up. Again, on the stock ECU, it should run. This fuel pump should be big enough until I really want to get into tuning it and go get like a Tornado ECU or something like that. I'm not sure what we're gonna do. Right now, we're just gonna get it running. I also do have brand new headers for it. Got us some brand new long tube Headman headers. Ooh. Ooh. Ceramic coated, unlike my last ones, which I had just gotten the mild steel ones, and I beat the absolute crap out of those. Ooh. Look at that, they come with a little cup over a little donut on the end, so you don't bang that up. Well, that's good, because we're going to cut that right off, because we're going to put a V-band down there and redo all of the exhausts, because I love V-band clamps. There she is. Sweet. The only thing we got left to do now is get this thing on an engine hoist so that we can finish putting it together. The oil pan is not on it, it's just on it. So we'll have to get the oil pan off. Maybe I can show you what's underneath. Let's get this thing on an engine hoist. Look at all that assembly lube. Yeah, see? ARPs. Oh, so you can see the pins right at the bottom of the sleeve. They're pinned and then they're ground down and then honed so that obviously they don't hit them, but you can see that pin right there. All right, well, we're gonna put a gasket on this sucker and put her together. All right, and we're back. We got the oil pan on, the water pump, motor mount plates, all of the extra sensors and stuff that I wanted to put on. And I put on these 2 new trans lines. If you remember, I cut the old ones, pulling it out. Well, if you weren't there for that, I cut the old ones, pulling it out, because I know that we now have that trans cooler in the front. I got to get rid of these. So what we're going to do today is put some flare nuts down here at the bottom so we can run AN line from there to the cooler. We're going to be doing that today with some -10 swedge nuts. So this is a ferrule and nut. Make sure you put these on the right way. The nut goes on first, and then the ferrule, and then swedge the pipe. And we're going to swedge with this cool guy. This is my Master Cool universal flaring tool. It'll do all the sizes from 3/16 all the way up to half, and then 5/16 and 3/8 trans lines, all the metric ones, bubble flare, double flare, all that stuff. So it'll do a lot of cool things. We're going to be using the 1/2" line though today, and nope, not that one. Where'd it go? Where'd it go? Where'd it go? Ah! Oh, it's already in it. That guy. The swedge. So the flare. So we'll just make a 1/2" flare with these flare nuts. So we're gonna go ahead and I think we're gonna cut it right about here so that I can have this much on both sides. So we'll cut both of them right about here. Let's get that back off. So we got it in the vise. We got it marked. All we got to do now is chop it off, and now we get to flare it. Make sure you got the nut. Make sure you have the ferrule with the flared end out. Slides up. Now you take the Be Cool, put it in there. Now this side, give this little gauge because the whole thing's got to be flush. This has got to be flush with this surface in here. So this little gauge does that for you. And you tighten it all up. Got your little swedge guy, and you just swedge. Open this back up. Voila. Perfect flare. So now I have a male hose end that'll go to this ferrule. And that is how I'm going to run my trans lines. Solid. Now, just do the other one the same way, and we'll be ready to party. All right, with the trans lines done, I'm going to put those in after the motor is in because they kind of tend to get in the way. But that leads us up to my favorite part, putting these bad boys on. Now I am going to just cut the bag open and put them on so that I don't touch them and get oil all over them and make them stained and stuff. But my next dilemma is, do I use the stock MLS exhaust gaskets, or do I use the ones that come with it? And I did just notice, not only is there 2, but there's 4. For some reason, they send you 2 sets of gaskets. There's 2 sets. So do I use these or do I use those? I think I'm going to use the steel stock ones. It does come with hardware, but I'm going to use the factory Land Rover hardware because I think it's going to be better. So now we're just going to cut this guy open and get him put on that. Whoa, getting excited. Still got to put a starter in it, and we're going to change the oil. We're going to add to the oiling system on this thing. Instead of putting a filter on there, we're going to put a filter relocation kit because that front drive line, the front axle gets a little close to the oil filter, and I wanted to put in an oil pressure sensor. So the only way we can do that is to relocate it so that I can get a little sandwich block so that I can put a little sensor in it. Let me show you what we got. We got the Dural engine oil filter relocating kit. This kit is for 3/4 16, which is what the thread is on that guy. So, kit comes with barb fittings, your screw-on adapter, that would be where your oil filter goes, hose clampies, constructions, here's the relocator that your oil filter now goes on, screws for that, and some rubber hose. Well, cool. I'm not using anything but those 2 pieces. So I am going to use some like NPT to -10 fittings in both of those because I am going to run AN line. I don't want to run rubber line. But we are going to get the engine side together now so that we can get the engine in the bay. We'll figure out where everything else is going to go later. So let's screw that thing on. And voila, one step closer to completion. All right, there she is. She is officially ready to go in. Mama and the supervisor are currently out of town, and I will be out of town pretty quickly here. And so we're gonna have to stop right about here, and we'll reconvene when we all come back. I can't tell you how excited I am for this to go in. It's been a long time, so hopefully she starts. But anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week. Bye.